In this lecture, we are going to see what is method overloading. If in a class, if you have multiple methods with the same name, but with different signatures, it is called as method overloading. So basically you have the same method name, but different signatures. So what do you mean by signature? The signature means what is the number of arguments that you have to the method? What is the data type of each of the arguments? What is the order of the arguments that you are passing? So basically the signature should be unique for each of the methods. And very important rule that we need to know is the signature does not consider the return type. Why do we need to do method overloading? So instead of having the same method name with different signatures, why can't I create different methods with different names itself? So the reason being it increases the readability of the program. For example, in our use case, we had an increment salary method. So the purpose of the increment salary method is to provide an increment of the salary for the employee. This method might have like multiple ways of implementation. For example, an employee might just get a percentage salary increase, or an employee might get a percentage salary increase with the bonus. So if we have that case, what we would have done is, right, we would have created another method, public void increment salary with bonus, and then we would have passed both the arguments. But if you see, right, like both are technically incrementing the salary, and it will not have like a better readability when someone reads through the code. So the same use case we can do through the method overloading. So I'm just going to copy this method, and then I'm going to add an additional parameter named as bonus. And then I'm going to add this bonus to the percentage increase salary. So in this case, what you have is you have two methods with the same name. In this case, it's the increment salary, but it takes a different set of parameters. So this is a valid use case for method overloading. So basically you have a method which can behave a little differently, but it basically does almost the same. So let's go back to the rules that we had. So basically what we said was the signature should be different. So basically the number of arguments should be different. So if you see here, like we have the number of arguments as different. So you could also have a method in which each of these takes a different data type as well. So if you see here, it takes a string data type. So in this case, this is also a valid case of overloading. So the reason being it takes two parameters, but the data type is different. Similarly, I can have a different method, but the order in which I pass the parameters is different. So if you see here, so I have the increment salary method, which takes two parameters. One is string and the next one is double. I have a same method. The first parameter is double and the next parameter is string. So as long as you have the different order of the parameters, it is still a valid case of overloading. So the only thing that you need to know is if you have the same method, if you just have the signature alone changed, is it a case of valid overloading? The answer is no. In case of overloading, you don't really consider the return type itself. So how does the Java compiler know about this overloading? So basically, overloading is also called as compile time or static polymorphism. Basically, the compiler should know which method to invoke when the code is compiled itself. So I go back here. So I call emp1 dot increment salary. So it exactly knows which method to call. So I'm going to pass the percentage, which is a string. and then a bonus which is in a double. So in this case, it really knows the exact value that's been invoked. So that's nothing but the like the exact method that is being invoked. So that is nothing but the increment salary method that we have here. So let me just put an SOP. So the easiest way to put an SOP is like just type sysout. So this is the shortcut that you have in Eclipse, and then say Control Enter. So this automatically expands the SOP, the system.out.println. So if you see here, I passed a first parameter which is a string and the second parameter which is a double. So it was able to invoke the overloaded method. Similarly, if you want to invoke the other method, so the first one is a double and the next one is the string type. So let me just save it. So now if I run this, so it's going to invoke the overloaded method with the double and string data types. So basically the method overloading is also called as like compile time or runtime polymorphism. Sorry, the compile time or static polymorphism. The reason being the compiler should know at the compile time itself which method is going to get invoked. So if you do a control click of this method, it's going to show which method is exactly going to get invoked. So that's all with respect to method overloading.